Ilior had never been anywhere close to the royal chambers before. The corridors of the station stretched like rivers of polished metal, lights glinting off walls that hummed softly with power. For most beings in the galaxy, this was a place of reverence, a hub of diplomacy and authority. But for him, it had always been a cage. A human among aliens, hiding in plain sight, working silently as a technician, making sure the systems ran smoothly, and hoping no one would notice the faint trace of humanity in his genes. He had grown up hearing stories about humans, passed down in whispers from older crew members who had read fragments of forbidden archives. Humans had once walked freely among the stars, a species that had shaped entire galaxies with their technology and courage. But that was long ago. Now humans were a legend, something that existed only in old recordings and fairy tales told to children of alien races. For Ilior, being human was dangerous. Being discovered could mean death, or worse, exile from the last safe place he had. And yet today he was being summoned to the princess's private chamber. The message had arrived with no warning, no explanation. Only the seal of Princess Aurexia, a symbol that most technicians never saw in their lives. Ilior's pulse had quickened the moment he read it. His hands shook as he wiped them on his uniform. He had spent his life avoiding attention, blending into the background. Now he was being called into the heart of the station, to a place where humans were not meant to exist. When the doors finally opened, Ilior stepped into a space unlike any he had seen. The chamber was vast and circular, with a high ceiling that arched like the hull of a starship. Light flowed from crystals embedded in the walls, casting soft colors that shifted like liquid. There were no guards in sight, yet Ilior felt watched, as if the walls themselves had eyes. In the center of the room stood Princess Aurexia. She was taller than he expected, her presence commanding but not oppressive. Her hair shimmered silver, her eyes a deep violet that seemed to pierce through the fabric of his carefully constructed disguise. "Ilior," she said, her voice calm but carrying a weight that made him step back instinctively. "Do you know why you are here?" Every instinct screamed at him to deny it, to claim some alien ancestry, anything to hide what he was, but he could not. No one had ever said the words aloud like that. Humans were extinct, or so the galaxy believed. To have the princess herself say it, it was more terrifying than anything he had imagined. How do you know?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Aurexia gestured to the walls around them. Crystals pulsed faintly, almost like they were alive. "Your presence awakens the old symbols," she said. "Humans left traces in this galaxy, marks of their power and ingenuity. Few could trigger them, and yet here you are." Now he understood they were more than that. They were a reminder that humans had once been everywhere, shaping the fate of worlds, and that somehow his blood carried a fragment of that legacy. "Why me?" he asked. "I am nothing. I have lived my life fixing circuits and cleaning panels. I do not belong here." "More than you realize. Humans were the galaxy's guardians, a species that once held the balance of power. You are a living key, Ilior. The galaxy is not safe, and it seems the past you carry is awakening sooner than expected." "I cannot. But it is not a place for you to return to, not yet perhaps, not ever. Humans chose exile for the galaxy's sake. They left to protect it from what they themselves had created. And now, the time may be coming when the galaxy will need them again." All his life he had dreamed of returning to the blue oceans and green forests of Earth, the air heavy with familiarity, the warmth of a home that had been taken from him before he could even remember it. And now he learned that home was forever out of reach. Why am I the one?" he asked, voice trembling. "There must be thousands of humans. Why me?" "You are the one who remained, hidden, unknown. Others, they have already fulfilled their purpose. You are the last who can awaken the legacy, and if you fail, the consequences will not be for you alone, but for every being in this galaxy." He had never been trained for this, never expected to be more than a shadow in the corridors of a station that was not even his home. And yet, here he was, standing in the private chamber of a princess who knew more about him than he did himself, faced with the knowledge that the galaxy might need him more than he needed it. "Please," Aurexia said softly, sensing his hesitation, "sit." When they foresaw the coming threats, the threats that could unravel the entire galaxy, they made a choice. They chose to disappear, to hide their existence and allow the galaxy to grow strong, independent, but also protected. They had sacrificed themselves for the survival of others, and he was the remnant of that sacrifice. "You must understand," Aurexia continued, "what you carry in your blood is not just heritage, it is potential. The moment the old systems detect you, the dormant safeguards of the galaxy will respond. You are the spark that could reignite them, or the fuse that could destroy everything. And so you are here, not as a guest, not as a prisoner, but as the one who must learn the truth before it is too late. Every instinct told him that leaving this room, or trying to return to the world he once imagined as home, was impossible. "I cannot go back," he whispered almost to himself. "I cannot go home." But what you do now, how you choose to accept your role, that will determine if the galaxy survives. A part of him longed to flee, to hide in the familiar routine of the engineering bays, but another part, a deeper, unshakable part, understood that he could never escape what he was. Ilior took a deep breath and straightened his shoulders. Fear still clung to him, but beneath it was something else, determination. Humanity may have been a myth in this galaxy, but he was real. And if the galaxy needed him, he would not turn away. "Then I will learn," he said quietly. "I will understand. Tell me what I need to know." You are the last hope of a species the galaxy has forgotten, and perhaps the key to its survival. And as he looked at Princess Orexia, standing like a sentinel in the heart of the chamber, he understood that the life he had known, the quiet, hidden life among aliens, was gone forever. The human in him, the last of his kind, had a destiny he could no longer ignore. And the galaxy, vast and unpredictable, would soon learn that even a single human could change the course of history. Ilior took a step forward, ready to face whatever truths the princess had yet to reveal, unaware that the first threads of a cosmic threat had already begun to stir, sensing the presence of the last human who should not exist. Ilior remained in the princess's chamber long after his first meeting with Orexia. The weight of her words pressed down on him, making it hard to breathe, as though every heartbeat carried the echo of an entire species. He could not shake the feeling that the walls themselves were alive, watching him, waiting for him to realize the truth he had spent his life avoiding. Orexia did not immediately leave. She moved quietly among the glowing crystals, her fingers brushing over the faint human symbols that began to stir with subtle light at her touch. "You are human," she said again, as if reminding him. "And humans are not extinct, not entirely, but you must understand why they disappeared, why your home is unreachable. It is not punishment, it is protection." Protection from what? They hid themselves away, erased their presence, and left the galaxy to survive without them. You are the key that can either restore humanity's guidance or destroy the fragile peace of the galaxy. You are asking the right questions. It is natural to doubt, but doubt does not make you weak. It makes you human. And humans, when they are at their best, have always turned doubt into courage. You may not feel ready, Ilior. You may not feel worthy, but the galaxy will not wait for you to feel ready. The room pulsed with soft energy as though responding to his emotions. "So, I am trapped here, I cannot go home, I cannot leave this place, and yet I am supposed to what? Save the galaxy." They left pieces of themselves in every system. Archives, hidden devices, tools of immense power. Many are inactive, waiting for a human to awaken them. And now, some are stirring because of you. Symbols flared to life, intricate patterns of light-forming shapes he could almost recognize but could not fully understand. They shifted and danced across the crystals, glowing like the stars outside the station. "These are relics of your people. They sense your presence, your blood. They respond to the last human who walks the galaxy openly. Some of them are dormant traps, some safeguards, some warnings. All of them are part of a system humans built to protect life itself." Do you think they believed themselves worthy of the task? They acted because they had no choice, because the galaxy depended on them, because someone had to make the decision to protect everything. You are that someone now. Something ancient, something buried in his genes, seemed to respond to the chamber, to the symbols, to Orexia herself. He was not merely frightened, he was awakened. Orexia rose and moved toward the center of the room where a platform shimmered faintly with energy. "Come," she said, "you must see for yourself." The platform projected a holographic map of the galaxy, stars twinkling and systems glowing with faint colors. Some were bright, familiar from his studies as a technician. Others were hidden, invisible in standard scans, their presence known only to those who had access to ancient records. Orexia touched a star, and a line of light shot across the map, connecting distant systems in a web of hidden pathways. "These are human safeguard networks," she explained. "Long ago, humans placed devices throughout the galaxy to protect life. Some stabilize planets, some shield populations, some contain threats too dangerous to face directly. For centuries, they were dormant, forgotten by all races. But now, some are awakening. They sense a disturbance, a threat that humans once fought and contained. And because of you, Ilior, they are reacting. Something humans feared. They called it the void, an intelligence, not a species. It consumes life, knowledge, and energy. Humans fought it and held it at bay, but the effort cost them everything. They sealed it, hiding their own existence to ensure it would never escape. But now its senses are stirring. It knows a human is awake. It will try to find you. It will try to claim your blood, your connection, your potential. That is why you cannot go home. If you return to Earth, the seal protecting your world will weaken. You could bring the threat to your people, to all life humans once cared for. You cannot do that. You can only stay, learn, and prepare. His life had been one of hiding and survival, and now it was being thrust into a destiny he did not want, a responsibility he did not understand. Orexia knelt beside him. "I know it is hard," she said softly. "But hiding will not protect you. You must understand the past to guard the future. Humans left pieces of themselves here, Ilior. Tools, systems, knowledge, all waiting for the right person to awaken them. That person is you. And that is why you are here in my chamber, not wandering the corridors alone. Understand the symbols. They are guides, teaching tools. They will show you what humans left behind and what you must awaken. You will not do this alone. I will guide you, but you must open your mind. Humans were not merely warriors. They were thinkers, builders, protectors. You carry all of that potential, whether you believe it or not." The fear was there, but it was joined by something else, a sense of purpose, a spark of courage. He did not yet know the full extent of his role, but he understood that running away was impossible. Hiding was no longer an option. "Good," Orexia said, rising again. "We will begin in earnest tomorrow. Tonight you must rest. The chamber has accommodations, food, and systems that will monitor your health. Your training, or your awakening, begins at dawn. But remember this, you are human. You are not extinct. And that means hope still exists in this galaxy, but hope must be earned and it must be protected." The words of Orexia echoed in his mind. Humans were guardians. Humans had left pieces of themselves hidden in the galaxy, and now he was the last key. He thought of Earth, of the oceans he would never see, of the forests that would remain untouched by his footsteps. And though his heart ached, he also felt a strange strength growing within him. Sleep did not come easily. His mind raced with visions of stars, hidden systems, glowing symbols, and a threat he could not yet name. But somewhere deep inside, he felt the first flicker of understanding. He was not just a technician, not just a survivor. He was a human, and humans had always risen to meet the impossible, no matter the cost. By the time the twin moons of the station cast their silver light across the chamber, Ilior had made a silent promise to himself. He would learn. He would awaken the legacy of his people. And if the galaxy needed him, he would not fail. Even if it meant never seeing his home again, he would stand and face the challenge. For the first time, Ilior understood what it truly meant to be human, and why humans had once been the guardians of the stars. And somewhere, far beyond the station, dormant systems began to stir. The legacy had sensed its key. Ilior woke before the station's artificial sun fully lit the corridors. His mind had been restless throughout the night, replaying Orexia's words over and over. Humans were guardians, humans were hidden, humans were not extinct, and he was the last one who could awaken their legacy. He rose from the small cot in the chamber and stretched, feeling a strange energy in his veins. It was not fear this time, but anticipation. For the first time in his life, he felt the weight of purpose replacing the uncertainty that had defined him. He dressed quickly, donning the simple technician uniform he had always worn, yet it felt heavier now, as if it carried the unspoken expectations of an entire species. Orexia was waiting for him. She stood near the glowing platform in the center of the chamber, her expression calm but alert. "Good morning," she said. "I trust you slept. But I've been thinking about what you said about humans." This time, however, new points of light appeared, glowing faintly, almost imperceptibly at first, then brighter as Ilior focused. "These are human safeguard points," Orexia said. "They respond to your presence. They were dormant for centuries, waiting for a human to awaken them. Some are simple, protective systems for planets. Others are complex, capable of containing threats you cannot yet imagine. They are scattered across the galaxy, hidden, and many are still inaccessible to us. But they are awakening because you are here." Humans were not ordinary. They were brilliant, determined, and sometimes reckless. But above all, they cared about life. They built systems to protect it. And now you are the key that allows those systems to function again. Then the galaxy suffers, but failure is not an option, Ilior. Humans did not disappear to leave the galaxy to chance. They left their knowledge, their power, their legacy, and you are the one to wield it. He had never imagined himself standing at the center of a galactic legacy, holding the key to systems built to protect entire civilizations. Your first lesson, Orexia continued, is to understand the power humans left behind. You will not be alone. I will guide you, and you will learn to read the symbols, interpret the systems, and activate the safeguards. But the process will not be easy. Humans designed these systems to be intuitive to their own kind, to respond to their presence, their thought patterns, and their intent. You must think like a human to unlock them. Humans stored knowledge in layers like a puzzle. Each layer requires understanding, patience, and insight. You will activate the first layer today. The others will follow as you grow in awareness. He took a deep breath and touched one of the glowing glyphs. Instantly, a holographic display unfolded before him, showing a star system he had studied as a technician. But this version of the system was alive with data he could not yet interpret. Planetary shields, energy flows, ancient runes marking strategic points, and lines connecting hidden devices across multiple systems. He stepped back, overwhelmed. I don't understand any of this. Slowly, the chaos began to form meaning. He recognized the energy lines connecting the planets. He saw how the shields were powered, how they could be redirected to protect different systems. He noticed symbols that acted like instructions, guiding him through the activation process. Each insight gave him confidence, each realization a spark of understanding. Hours passed. The chamber's light shifted as Ilior immersed himself in the human archive. Orexia observed silently, stepping in only when he hesitated or faltered. Slowly, he began to unlock the first safeguard point, a planetary shield that had remained dormant for centuries. He felt a thrill as the system responded to him, energy rippling across the holographic planets, stabilizing their atmospheres, reinforcing their magnetic fields. He was doing it. He was awakening human power. Orexia watched him, pride in her eyes. You see, it is not magic, it is human design. You are capable, and this is only the beginning. I can feel it, the energy. It's like it's alive. And now, the first layer of the legacy is yours to command. The void is sensing your presence. It has awakened. It is ancient, intelligent, and patient. Humans fought it once and contained it, but it has never forgotten. It is drawn to your blood, to your awakening, and now it knows you exist. It consumes, corrupts, and destroys. Entire civilizations have fallen to it. Humans contained it, sealed it, and went into exile to keep it from spreading. But now it is stirring, and it knows that the key to the safeguards, its prison, is awake. But this was something beyond comprehension, an intelligence older than any species sensing him, aware of his existence. Orexia placed her hand on his shoulder again. Do not despair. The humans did not leave you defenseless. The safeguards are powerful, and you have already awakened the first one, but you must continue. Learn, understand, and prepare. The void will test you, but you are not alone. The rest of the day passed in a blur of discovery. Ilior moved from one console to another, reading human archives, activating dormant systems, and learning to manipulate the energy flows that powered them. He grew more confident with each success, his fear slowly transforming into determination. He was not just a human hiding among aliens anymore. He was the last link to a species that had once held the galaxy together. By the end of the day, he collapsed onto the cot, exhausted but exhilarated. Orexia stood by the platform, her gaze steady and watchful. You have done well today, she said. But tomorrow will be harder. The void will continue to sense you. The next layer of the legacy is more complex, more dangerous. You must be ready to face challenges beyond anything you have imagined. A part of him still wished he could turn away, return to the simplicity of his life as a technician. But another part, stronger and more insistent, knew that he could not. He had been called for a reason. He had been chosen to awaken the systems, to prepare for the coming storm, to carry humanity's legacy forward. And as he drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep, the holographic stars continued to shimmer, the safeguards quietly humming in response to his presence. Somewhere in the distance, the void stirred, sensing that the last human had awakened and that the game of the galaxy had begun once more. Ilior did not yet know the full scale of the challenge ahead. He did not yet understand the depth of the void's power or the sacrifices he would be asked to make. But for the first time, he felt a sense of purpose, a connection to something greater than himself. He was human. He was the last hope of his species. And the galaxy, vast and unpredictable, would soon learn that even one human could awaken forces beyond imagination. Ilior woke to the soft hum of the chamber's energy. The day before had left him exhausted, but sleep had done little to quiet the questions swirling in his mind. The void was aware of him. It had sensed his awakening. And somewhere out there, across the vast galaxy, an ancient intelligence was watching, waiting for him to make the first mistake. He rose from the cot and looked at the holographic map of the galaxy projected from the platform. The safeguard points he had activated flickered gently, resonating with a quiet energy that seemed almost like a heartbeat. But other points, dormant and distant, remained dark. Somewhere the void was stirring, and Ilior knew he could feel it in the way the chamber vibrated beneath his feet. Orexia entered the room silently, her presence calm but commanding. "You are awake early," she said, her eyes scanning the map. "Good, the void's influence is growing. It senses your presence and may attempt to disrupt the safeguards. Today will test you beyond what you have faced." They used knowledge, strategy, and sacrifice. That is what we will do. We cannot destroy it. We can only contain it, guide it, and keep the galaxy safe. You are part of that plan. Orexia touched one, and the symbols shifted into a holographic simulation of a distant system under threat. Planets were being attacked by invisible energy streams, lines of force cutting across the stars. The void's influence was subtle but unmistakable. It was moving through space like a predator, unseen but powerful. "This is the first direct encounter," Orexia said. "The void is testing the galaxy, probing for weaknesses. Humans built safeguards to respond, but only a human key can activate them fully. That key is you." He placed his hands on the controls and felt a surge of connection, a strange resonance linking him to the safeguards across multiple systems. The power was overwhelming, yet strangely familiar, as if it belonged to him by right. "You must act carefully," Orexia said. "The void will respond instantly to any mistake. One misstep and entire systems could collapse. Focus, observe, and activate only what is necessary." He could feel the safeguards awakening under his guidance, the legacy of humans coming to life through him. But then the simulation changed. The energy streams shifted, attacking in new patterns. The void had adapted. It sensed him more clearly now, probing for weaknesses. Ilior's heart raced. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to hide, to abandon the task. But he could not. He had come too far. Humanity's legacy depended on him. "Remember," Orexia said, her voice steady, "humans did not rely on strength alone. They used strategy, patience, and understanding. Think like a human, observe the patterns, respond intelligently, do not act out of fear." He imagined the energy streams as flowing rivers, each with a rhythm and direction. Slowly, he began to predict the void's movements, redirecting defenses in a way that neutralized the attacks without destroying the energy lines themselves. It was delicate, precise work, but he was learning to think like his ancestors. Hours passed in a blur. Sweat ran down his face, and his hands ached from guiding the energy, but slowly the system stabilized. The planets in the simulation no longer flickered with danger. The void's attacks were repelled, contained within the safeguards. Ilior had done it. For the first time, he had faced the presence of the void directly and emerged victorious, at least for now. Orexia's eyes shone with approval. "Well done, Ilior, you have passed the first test. But this is only the beginning. The void will grow stronger, more cunning, and it will seek you personally. You must prepare for that day. Humans left their legacy for you. The safeguards, the archives, the symbols, they are tools, allies, and guides, and I am here to assist you. But ultimately, this path is yours to walk. You are human. That is your strength, your courage, and your responsibility." But now he saw the truth. Humans were brilliant, strategic, and capable of remarkable sacrifice. They had created systems that could protect entire civilizations, and they had done so knowing they might never see the results. And now he was part of that plan. As the day drew on, Orexia guided him through additional exercises, teaching him to read complex symbols, manipulate energy flows, and activate dormant safeguards remotely. Ilior's confidence grew with each success, yet so did his awareness of the stakes. Every safeguard he activated was a line of defense against the void, a barrier holding back an intelligence that could consume stars. By evening, Ilior was exhausted but exhilarated. He had begun to understand the scale of humanity's legacy and the depth of the challenge ahead. The Void was patient, intelligent, and relentless, but he was learning, adapting, and awakening the power his ancestors had left behind. Orexia approached him as he sat on the cot, wiping sweat from his brow. "You have done well today," she said. "But the next step will be harder. The Void will begin to probe more directly. You must be prepared to face it not just in simulations, but in reality, and that will require more than skill. It will require courage, sacrifice, and trust in yourself." And he thought of himself, a single human among countless stars, carrying the weight of a species' legacy. The responsibility was immense, but he felt a strange determination growing within him. He could not turn away. He could not hide. He had been chosen, and he would rise to the challenge. That night, as he lay on the cot, the chamber's energy pulsing gently around him, he reflected on the lessons of the day. Humans had been guardians, not for glory or power, but for protection. They had sacrificed everything to ensure the survival of countless species. And now, he was part of that lineage. He was not just Elior, the technician hiding among aliens. He was Elior, the last key to awakening humanity's legacy and the first line of defense against the Void's return. Sleep did not come easily. His mind replayed the simulations, the energy flows, and the subtle movements of the Void. But amidst the fear and uncertainty, there was a spark of confidence, a glimmer of hope. He had faced the first direct challenge, and he had survived. He had begun to awaken the systems, to understand the power his ancestors had left behind. And though the path ahead was perilous, he was ready to continue. By dawn, he rose once more, his resolve solidified. The Void was out there, growing stronger with each passing moment, but so was he. He was learning, adapting, and awakening humanity's legacy. And he knew that the choices he made in the coming days would determine not just his fate, but the fate of the galaxy itself. He stood before the holographic map, watching the safeguard points pulse with energy, their patterns slowly shifting as they responded to his presence. Somewhere in the darkness beyond the known stars, the Void stirred, sensing the awakening of its key. It would come for him, it would test him, but Elior no longer felt helpless. He was human, and that meant he was capable of more than any other species could imagine. He took a deep breath, centering himself, and prepared to face the next challenge. The galaxy depended on him. Humanity's legacy depended on him, and he would not fail. Even if it meant standing alone against an ancient intelligence, Elior was ready to fight. Ready to protect life, knowledge, and the legacy of his species. Ready to prove that even one human could make a difference in a galaxy filled with stars and shadows. The station hummed with quiet energy as Elior stood before the central holographic map. The night outside the station's dome was deep and silent, but he knew the Void was moving. It was patient, calculating, and relentless, spreading its influence across distant systems, searching for weaknesses, searching for him. Each safeguard point he had activated pulsed faintly, their light a reminder that humanity's legacy was alive, and that the galaxy depended on him. Orexia entered the chamber, her presence steady and reassuring. "Elior," she said softly, "the Void is aware of your actions. It knows you are awakening the legacy. Soon it will act directly. You must be ready." But the thought of facing the Void itself was overwhelming. He had seen its traces in the simulations, glimpsed its influence on the energy flows, yet nothing could have prepared him for what it meant to confront a force older than the galaxy itself. "Where do we start?" he asked. "We activate the core safeguard," Orexia replied. "It is the heart of humanity's legacy. The system that contains the full power of their knowledge, their technology, and their protection. But it requires one thing, a human with the courage and understanding to wield it. That human is you." It was a network of energy, information, and control that had been dormant for centuries. To activate it was to assume responsibility for every life, every planet, every system the safeguards had been designed to protect. I can't fail," he whispered. "If I fail, everything will be lost." They relied on knowledge, planning, and courage. And now you carry their legacy, trust in yourself. Every safeguard he had activated earlier pulsed in response, feeding power into the core system, awaiting his command. "Focus," Orexia said. "Think like a human. Remember their principles, protect life, preserve knowledge, anticipate threats, and act with integrity. You are not alone. The systems are yours to guide." Each motion was precise, deliberate, a dance of intelligence and control. But as he worked, a shadow flickered at the edge of the holographic projection. The Void had sensed the activation and was probing, testing the defenses. Energy lines began to flicker and warp, systems wavered under the subtle pressure of an intelligence older than the stars. Ilior's heart raced. He could feel the void reaching toward him, trying to manipulate the safeguards to breach the system he had barely begun to control. "Steady," Orexia said. "Do not panic, it will test you, but it cannot succeed if you maintain control. Trust the legacy, trust yourself." He visualized the safeguards not as machines, but as extensions of humanity's will, each system designed to anticipate, respond, and protect. Slowly, he began to stabilize the energy lines, redirecting power to reinforce vulnerable points and neutralizing the subtle influence of the void. The room pulsed with light, a symphony of human ingenuity awakening across the holographic galaxy. Hours passed. The void continued its tests, subtle and relentless. It tried to create confusion, misalign systems, and exploit weaknesses in his understanding. Ilior faltered at times, uncertainty creeping in, fear whispering that he could not succeed. But each time he remembered Orexia's words, the stories of humans who had sacrificed everything for the survival of the galaxy. He focused, recalibrated, and pressed forward. Finally, the core safeguard began to hum with a steady, powerful resonance. The energy lines connected across the galaxy, the shields strengthened, the systems aligned, and the void's influence began to recede. For the first time, Ilior sensed the intelligence of the void being contained, limited, unable to act freely. Humanity's legacy had awakened, responding perfectly to the presence of its last human. Ilior sank to the floor, exhausted but exhilarated. The room glowed with the power of a civilization long vanished, yet alive through him. Orexia approached and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have done it, Ilior. You have awakened the core. The safeguards are active, the void is contained, and the galaxy is protected. For now, you have proven yourself worthy of humanity's legacy. Humanity's protection relies on your presence. You are tied to the legacy now. Returning to Earth even for a moment would disrupt the systems, weaken the safeguards, and put billions of lives at risk. Your home is the galaxy now. Your purpose is to guard it." He had dreamed of Earth his whole life, imagined walking its streets, breathing its air, seeing oceans and forests. And now that dream was impossible. But he looked at the systems he had activated, the galaxy glowing with renewed energy, and a strange peace settled over him. Humanity had sacrificed itself for the good of others, and he, the last human, was continuing that sacrifice. "I understand," he whispered. "I will stay, I will protect this galaxy, I will carry the legacy of my people." "You embody that now, Ilior." He began to understand the intricate patterns humans had woven into the galaxy, the way energy, knowledge, and life were interconnected. He discovered hidden archives on distant planets, repositories of knowledge left by humans to teach future generations. He learned to navigate these archives, decoding ancient symbols, unlocking technology that reshaped space stations, planetary defenses, and communication networks. The galaxy began to hum with the quiet power of humanity, and Ilior felt the presence of his ancestors guiding him, teaching him, encouraging him. Yet, even amidst success, the absence of Earth weighed on him. He often stared at the holographic map, tracing the lines that led to the hidden planet, imagining the blue oceans and green forests, imagining the life that had once thrived there. And each time he reminded himself that the sacrifice was necessary. Humanity's legacy demanded vigilance, and he had been chosen to uphold it. One evening, Orexia entered the chamber with a thoughtful expression. "Ilior," she said, "the void will not rest forever. It is patient and it will seek opportunities. But it will never succeed while the safeguards remain active and you continue to guide them. You have become more than a key. You are the guardian of a civilization's legacy, the protector of countless lives. That is humanity's gift to the galaxy, and now it is yours to wield." The galaxy might never know his name, might never know that humans had once shaped its fate, but their work lived on through him. He walked to the central platform, placing his hands on the controls once more. The energy hummed under his touch, responding with a gentle rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat. He traced the lines of light connecting distant systems, feeling the flow of life, knowledge, and protection. The galaxy was safe for now, but he knew his role was ongoing. Vigilance would never end. Sacrifice was eternal, and yet he felt no fear, only purpose. The stars outside the station shimmered in silent witness. Somewhere beyond the known galaxy, the void stirred, sensing the containment, testing for cracks, searching for weaknesses. But Ilior was ready. He had awakened the legacy. He had faced the first direct tests. He had learned to think, act, and adapt like the humans who had come before him, and if the void returned, he would be ready again. For the first time, Ilior allowed himself a small, private smile. He would never go home. He would never walk the streets of Earth or see its oceans. But he had found something greater, a purpose that transcended a single planet, a legacy that spanned the galaxy, and a role that no other could fulfill. He was human, and humanity's strength had always been in rising to the impossible. Ilior looked at Orexia standing quietly beside him. "Thank you," he said softly, "for trusting me, for guiding me, for believing in what humans left behind. The galaxy will survive because of you." Humanity's legacy demanded vigilance, courage, and sacrifice, but he was ready to meet it one day at a time. He took a deep breath, feeling the resonance of human energy in his veins, the quiet hum of the safeguards beneath his touch, and the weight of responsibility balanced by the strength of purpose. The galaxy was vast, full of unknowns and dangers, but it was alive, and he would protect it. Ilior, the last human, the guardian of the galaxy, smiled softly to himself. He would never go home. But in the stars, in the safeguards, and in the legacy of his people, he had found a new home. And the galaxy unknowingly owed its survival to him.